All right, let's get going. Good morning, everyone. If you have just joined in or just listening, please do share your name and where you are joining from in the chat window, um, and let everybody know, where all people are joining from in the webinar today. My name is Praveen Jangira, and I'm your host for the webinar. Technology has the power to do many things, as we all know, and changing the world is one of them. We are indeed privileged to be living in a time where science and technology can assist us, make our lives easier, and rethink the ways we go about our daily lives. The technology we are already exposed and accustomed to has paved the way for us to innovate further. And this list of current and future technologies certainly have the potential to change our lives even more. While on one hand, technology is making a big impact and changing our lives every day, on the other hand, coronavirus is also making a big impact. The way we live and the way we do our business in current scenario. But at the same time, um, it has opened many opportunities as well. And out of these is, you know, one of these is taking your business to the cloud. We have all heard every cloud has a silver lining, but technology is making a paradigm shift, as I mentioned earlier, and making a huge impact on our everyday life, and has made us relook at the phrase in a different way, which is every silver lining has a cloud. Let's know more about the silver lining and how cloud is changing the way we do business. I'm sure this webinar will give you a lot of key takeaways and learning as well. So let's proceed further without any further delay and start with our webinar. Before we move further, let me introduce you to our presenter for the day. Puneet Singh is our BU head for cloud at Erasmus Technologies. He has over 20 years of experience in diverse roles in the ICT industry, which includes areas like leadership, general management, technology consultancy, customer project management, transitions of global delivery centers, and strategic programs. He has worked with industry leading organizations such as Intel, HCL, Ericsson. Puneet is a certified AWS technical and business professional and is ever so keen to take a walk in the clouds. Also, when he is not on cloud, he digs rock music and live soccer. In fact, he does soccer coaching to kids and have won them a few trophies as well. Let us also remind ourselves of some ground rules for the benefit of the presenter and all the participants. Let's ensure we follow a few basic housekeeping rules. During the presentation, I request all of you to be on mute. If you have any doubts or issues, you can use the chat window. This webinar is being recorded and the link will be shared with the participants via email. So you will have a copy of the webinar to view as and when you want to. Please make use of chat window to submit the questions anytime. And for any reason, if we are not able to answer your question, we will take those questions, get those answered from the presenter, and put them on our website blog. So you can check the blog for any questions left unanswered. This webinar is scheduled for 45 minutes and we would like to finish on time. All right, with that and without making any more delays, let's get started. Um, and let's hear from Puneet on every silver lining has a cloud. Puneet, over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Praveen, for that very generous introduction. Good morning, all. Um, and you have heard a bit about the phrase "every cloud has a silver lining," as Praveen just mentioned. And I'm sure, as a child, we must have heard the proverb many a times: "Every cloud has a silver lining." Uh, However, times have changed, and so have the playing fields. Thanks to all the OneDrives and the Fortnite, now my child says to me, every silver lining has a cloud. So as a reference, let's take India. India had less than 10 unicorns before 2015. Currently, it has 30 with the likes of Quikr, Zomato, Paytm, Oyo, and is now expected to have more than 100 in another 5 years by 2025. Um, in the business world, whether one is the disruptor or the disrupted, adoption of cloud technology is now inevitable. What used to be the veritable rainbow is now the cloud. Praveen, can we please move on? Okay. So the agenda for today, we see what I would like to cover with you is we look at why cloud and why now. What are the motivating factors, the business drivers behind it? How cloud is rebalancing the business also for the business leaders. I would also like to talk about the transformation journey, what some organizations have experienced so far with behind the clouds. Then we will take a couple of case studies. We will also talk about how the rapid scalability and availability of cloud is making a difference to the DR strategies in fading DR. Finally, we will look at something what we all have heard, which is the hybrid cloud, and in particularly the AWS manifestation of hybrid cloud with some of the services that AWS offers today. Finally, I like to wrap it up with post-pandemic, what we can expect during or rather after the pandemic is immediately over. So with that, I think we will go on to the next one, please. Okay, so every company is now a software company, and organizations these days are competing using digital services. Digital transformation for a business is mandatory, as we have already discussed that, in order to stay in the game. The organizations have to keep the cost low and increase the revenue at the same time, to forget to grow the customer base also. Now let us look at some of the business drivers that motivate the migration to the cloud. The one motivator today cited by the organization is the cost reduction. And actually, it becomes a game changer as it translates the capex to the opex and lowers the total TCO. Data suggests that some of the organizations have reported up to 51% decrease over 5 years in TCO. Next, I think, is an equally important motivator, which is the agility. So if we look at the Silicon Valley, just imagine the pace of innovation in the Silicon Valley that leads to adoption of new technology or new products the world over. Businesses have to be agile before it is too late. We are all familiar with the name Kodak in the world of photography, and that rule for over 100 years. It finally filed for bankruptcy because it was slow to adapt to digital technology. We also know that another very important motivator is the hardware and software end of life. Our infrastructure is always depreciating. Organizations are retiring their, or who are looking to retire the legacy hardware and software and looking to avoid the refresh cycles of their licenses. are also looking at cloud. Another very important indicator is go global. So companies who want to, extend their market reach in the matter of weeks or months, they can expand into a different geography with, the power of scalability and provisioning in the matter of hours that a cloud provides. Finally, I think we all know the new technologies on the horizon, such as the AI, ML, which are digital in nature and consume tons of data. So imagine big data. Imagine what all data requirements a Hadoop cluster would pose. And all these mean that the provisioning of the instances should be, in the matter of hours or minutes for a business to be, succeeding. Praveen, can we please move on to the next? Now, some of the CIOs are looking at, cloud not only just as a catalyst for IT transformation, but they're looking at cloud as a strategic weapon for overall business transformation. And when we talk about business agility, I think first let us see what is business agility. In quite simple terms, it is the ability of a business to adapt rapidly and cost effectively in response to changes in the business environment, or in other words, the competition around you. When business models need to be redefined, it is perhaps the Swiggy following Zomato or Ola following Uber. The benefits of agility means you have a competitive advantage in terms of faster revenue growth, larger market share, and profitability that is probably going to outlast your cost reduction as the single biggest motivator. One of the points that we see around the adoption of cloud is the SaaS. And why SaaS grew quickly in popularity was because it rapidly satisfies the needs of the business users without waiting for, the IT red tapeism with the CIOs or the IT staff or managers. It gives the ability to go around IT. I will like to quote an example on business agility from something probably which we, Vistara, India's own airline, which was born in 2015 into the AWS cloud. Vistara runs about 200 flights a day, has a fleet of 32 plus aircrafts. Now, it has virtually all the workload of its enterprise applications, the SOC and the NOC, including running on AWS with over 180 servers. When Vistara was doing this implementation, it was looking at how to beat the market, how to stay ahead of the competition. Now, route profitability is the most critical parameter in airline business, which means which route to start or stop or optimize for an airlines. Using a data lake on AWS S3 and Redshift as a data warehouse, the route profitability report that Vistara used to take 2 weeks for a business CEO to take a decision on, that route profitability report took just 2 days, and it takes just 2 days now. Moving on. Okay, so let's look at some of the experiences of the organizations in their journey of transformation. Interesting data is coming out. It is being said that in the last 3 years, 3 out of 4 organizations have started to report completion of projects within time and budget. Why do you think that is happening? One of the reasons why this is happening is that projects have started becoming smaller. The arrival of cloud has changed what used to be a single monolithic project spanning an entire organization. Now it has been broken down to numerous small projects with distinct business owners demanding change in different points of time. And I think we're all familiar with agile ops. Now also look at um, some of the thought on business transformations. Now, organizations undergoing business transformations must remember it is not just limited to the IT. It also means transformation in the HR, finance, or the procurement, administration, logistics, whose workloads you are finally going to move to the cloud. As the head of PMO, uh, I often used to come across department heads. They used to do their budgeting of next year by adding just 20% to the current year budget and then staring red in the Q4 of next year and saying, oh, how did I miss that? Finally, I would also like to talk about, what is the findings, some of the findings of big enterprises who have migrated already to the cloud. I think they're beginning to realize that migration is not the end of the journey, it is the start. Once an organization moves to a multi-cloud environment, vendor-specific billing, whether it is Azure or AWS or GCP, billing and security compliance will pose a challenge because it's a highly dynamic mix that we're talking about with thousands and thousands of instances and services running. And that is where third-party tools or solutions such as from Cloud Health or Aquila help in real-time monitoring and billing solutions. Things like threat detection, spend tracking, or policy management in governance. Vivin, can we please move on? Now let us look at the first of the case study, HESS. Now, companies acquire and divest business for strategic or financial reasons. I think we are all familiar with what Nokia did 7, 8 years back, or what Ericsson did with their mobile handset unit. Similarly, we have a case where HESS, a global independent energy company engaged in exploration and production of crude oil and natural gas in US, what it did. So HESS decided in 2013 to divest its downstream business of retail and energy marketing. However, it had a business challenge, an obligation to hand over a functional operational infrastructure to the buyer. So there was no time to redesign the applications, and some of the applications were legacy 32-bit applications running on Windows. The approach that HESS took was they had a detailed inventory of the servers and the storage configuration, the backup and restore requirements. They went through an exhaustive application review process to identify the applications that would have to be handed over, what the integration points of those applications would be. And finally, when those applications were identified, pilot applications moved to AWS with quick wins and with the most important cultural shift that was achieved by the leadership buy-in who encouraged the entire organization to shift to the cloud. Snapshots were taken of servers, to cover for both server failures or accidental data deletion or corruption of data. It also provided the ability to easily copy the snapshots from one region to another region or within the same region. The migration highlights were initially it started with a VPN from the on-prem to the cloud, and then has dedicated a 1 Gbps direct connect, which is a dedicated network connection from the on-prem to its VPC in the cloud. There were 300 servers on EC2 with 500 terabyte of EBS block storage, provisioned IOPS for low latency performance. AWS Marketplace was used, to virtualize, compromise F5 and NetScaler. And finally, there were 50% custom applications and 50% apps were off the shelf. These custom applications were on the .NET, and it was ported on the AWS. These custom applications were created quickly. HESS failed quite a few times. They failed fast and rebuilt. And in fact, HESS says that it was able to clone 100 servers in a single day, something which was unheard of. Once they built the code was simply replicated or cloned. The business benefits: HESS was able to migrate and rebuild their entire infrastructure and was ready in 6 months. And the handover meeting just lasted 30 minutes with the AWS account handed over to their investor. Praveen, can you please move on? So I want you to focus on 3 points on this slide, which is the technical architecture, what HESS deployed. The business agility, which was the ability to transform and adapt quickly, and of course, we've already covered the business outcome. The flexibility, second point, which was, if we see the options to offload the components of their IT infrastructure in a structured manner. There was the logical partitioning of the servers in the public and private subnets. There was setup in another AZ or availability zone. And of course, the access, it all started with the VPN, and then the primary traffic was on the dedicated direct connect 1 Gbps length. Praveen, can we please move on?
Puneet, a quick reminder on the time.
Okay, I'll just quicken up the pace. This is the second of the use case that we're going to look at, and I think Netflix, we are no stranger to it. What happens when you need to move 100 million viewers to a different AWS region? Netflix infrastructure is built on AWS, and it makes it possible that when the company is running services in AWS region simultaneously, it makes migration or failover from one region to another region in less than 40 minutes with help of the underlying AWS services like 53 and Netflix own augmented Zul, not to be confused with another similar sounding Hindi word. Zul is a Netflix own API gateway or the edge service, which receives the requests from the user interface, the end users, and then identifies and delegates the request to the internal microservices. Please move on to the next. Now we talked about earlier about the DR. Many organizations are rethinking their DR strategies. When servers can be provisioned in a matter of minutes, volume snapshots can be taken again from one region to another region, and an image of a server can be up and running in a matter of minutes. Netflix is also deploying the blue-green deployments, which provide near zero downtime, release, and rollback capabilities. So what you have in a blue-green deployment is that you have two identical production environments, one blue, the other green. Blue represents the current application version. and is serving the current production traffic. And in parallel, the green environment is also staged and running a different version of your application, which could be N+1. After the green environment is ready and tested, production traffic is redirected from blue to green. And should there be any problem, one can roll back by reverting the traffic back to the blue environment. Imagine getting a flat tire. And why I talk this example here is that the philosophy that Netflix had in mind before it went on to invent something that some of us may have heard is chaos engineering. So imagine you're getting a flat tire. So even if you have a spare tire in your trunk, do you know it is already inflated, or you forgot to have it inflated all these months? Do you have the tools to change it? Are you up to it in the middle of night to change it? So one way could be that let's do it ourselves as a drill Sunday afternoon, just to make sure that we have everything ready and in place, up and running. Now, this expensive and time-consuming activity in the real world of IT can be free and automated in the cloud. And that's where Netflix gave birth to something what we know is chaos engineering. Inventing a chaos monkey, a tool that randomly disables production instances and simulates a failure, much like a monkey that would enter your data center with a weapon. And then the simian family grew. The latency monkey, the conformity monkey, the doctor monkey, the chaos gorilla. For example, latency monkey would introduce delays in the client server layer to simulate service degradation. Conformity monkey will find instances that do not adhere to the best practices and shut them down. Doctor monkey would detect unhealthy instances and remove them from service. Praveen, can we please move on? Now, hybrid cloud. What we look in the picture is the traditional model with our bare metal servers and other IT infrastructure or VM-based machines on the left, and then we look at the hybrid cloud model. The cloud can be easily extended, or rather your data center can be easily extended to the cloud by following a hybrid cloud model. Or it can be a combination of a public and a private cloud as well, offering you the advantages of both public and the private cloud at the same time, using infrastructure as a service or SaaS as a service or platform as a service. What we're going to look at is what are some of the services that AWS offers today. So data center extension. Now customers can seamlessly integrate their on-premise with cloud storage, identity management, and security policies intact, keeping it as it is. AWS Direct Connect is a dedicated low latency connection to your VPC in AWS from the on-prem, as we saw in the case study of HESS. AWS also offers AWS Private Link, which provides private connectivity from one VPC of yours to another VPC of yours in the cloud, where the traffic does not traverse the internet. So it avoids the threat vectors like DDoS or brute force attacks. AWS VPN is a fully automated, scalable VPN service that offers site-to-site VPN, which forms encrypted tunnels between your on-prem to your VPC in the cloud, as also client. And then on the AWS storage and the backup, AWS has AWS Storage Gateway, which is a hybrid cloud storage offering file gateway, tape gateway, or volume gateway to you that lets you connect your on-prem applications to cloud storage. So imagine you have a legacy application which you cannot move to the cloud for, let's say, for latency. So what do? At the same time, you have to have a backup and the storage of the data that this application produces, you need to extend the capabilities. So you have a AWS storage gateway. You choose file gateway or tape gateway or volume gateway, depending on what your current architecture allows, or you want to scale up to another architecture. So your applications then access the service through the standard protocols like iSCSI or NFS, which extends your on-prem onto the cloud using it, and it then uses the AWS storage services like the S3 or the EBS, Elastic Block Storage, or AWS Backup to have completely automated storage of your files, volumes, snapshots. Praveen, can we please move on?
Another time check, Puneet, and we might have to wind up in another 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think we will be able to do it. So I think we are almost at the end here, just in the last bit. I think we all know the world that we are living in currently and what it has forced all of us to, to work as. So work from home, we are no stranger to that term, but also to some, it is carnival at home, ranging from doorbells to dogs barking to dishes and the kids running around. Now, at the start of the lockdown, we witnessed an increase in demand for remote working solutions, such as increasing the VPN capacity or the firewall configurations, or looking at virtual desktop as a service. Already, organizations like Amazon and Google have announced that they will not reopen offices before January next year. So what does that possibly mean as a trend setter? The end user computing business is likely to see an increase, or will see an increase in the average, as the average IT user may not be back soon to the office. So desktop as a service like Amazon Workspaces, Amazon AppStream, these services will see an uptick in demand. Organizations will see transition to public cloud services as a priority now, for the simple reason of business continuity. And I think with this, I will probably stop for the day, but in the end, I would leave with a question. Do you think you would play your part in the digital transformation of your company? Thank you. That will be all. Over to you, Praveen.
Thanks, Puneet. Now we can at least say it's a monkey business. That was a wonderful session and definitely an eye-opener for me. I think Netflix is a wonderful example of how digital transformations to cloud can help, help and transform organizations, and actually help them transform overnight instead of days or months that we used to take earlier. So with that, let's open up for questions, and please feel free to use the chat window for any questions that you have. So I see we have a few questions on the chat window. So first question is, what would be the rule of thumb when you have to plan the financials, basic pricing with average resources? Puneet, were you able to hear the question?
Yes, sorry, I was talking on mute. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, I think the first thing that needs to be done is to factor in a business case, and the business case, should definitely see what the total cost of ownership would be of the assets. Should we migrate? What should we migrate to the cloud first of all? And we certainly do not follow a big bang approach when we migrate to the cloud. Follow a gradual, step-by-step approach in migration to the cloud. So all your non-business critical applications. It could be your internal email or internal messaging. All these can be a target for a pilot migration to the cloud first. We also have to keep in mind the total cost of ownership and the ROI in this business case. So you start small, you take the next step, and then you finally move your business critical applications or processes or workloads to the cloud.
All right. We have a few more questions coming in through chat as well, on WhatsApp as well. So, next question, as an authority in area, what you suggest will be the minimum requirement at the user end, and what we must do to run a 8 to 10 member team working across geographies?
Okay. See, I think we would need a little bit of more description of of your infrastructure here to begin with. Plan, uh, anything or suggest anything to you in terms of what you could, straight away look at moving to the cloud. Like to see the architecture, um, how um, how many users we are talking about, what number of applications we are talking about, which applications would you rather have first uh, stay on-prem and move to the cloud later. I think the question would also come when we have to size the hardware according to which applications we move in which phase to the cloud. So, so I heard 8 to 10 users. Now, I think 8 to 10 users to begin with. First question is: are these 8 to 10 users all co-located in one place, or are they distributed? Are these users in one geography or multiple geographies? So in case these users are all co-located from one, then I don't think so it is much of a challenge to begin with. And you could, possibly go with just one or two of services, something like on the compute with the EC2, giving access to these 8 to 10 users, define their roles in the IAM service of AWS in a secure fashion. So I think in order to sufficiently answer this question, it is important to get the description of the scenario.
All right, I'll take two more questions, Puneet, and request if you can answer maybe in one or two sentences. So the next question is, what is the best approach to check which cloud model to opt for?
Okay. So companies are very eager to move their compute, storage, and networking requirements to the cloud. So I would say infrastructure as a service is something that the organization must consider, to move first. And then depending on the use case, if it is a developer environment, then probably platform as a service. Or better still, look at, SaaS as immediate returns.
All right. Um, the next question, what are the other monkey businesses?
Okay, this is a good question. Yeah, I think the first monkey business that probably comes to my mind is how much more monkeying around can we do around in our house, all logged in. So I will definitely like to monkey around, in the office more than what I get a chance to monkey around in at home. So uh, I know this is on the lighter side, but of course, the monkey businesses that the person who asked this question is probably referring to is that what more monkey business can we look at something like Netflix. So I think some companies started to adopt chaos engineering in the form of chaos monkey as a tool from Netflix. I do not uh, know the name of these organizations at the top of my head, but I can definitely come back to you. Which are the other organizations who have started to use Chaos Monkey and the Simian family.
All right. Thanks, Puneet. Will that, if there are any other questions, we will try and take them and get the answers from the presenter and put it on our website. Um, Let me quickly introduce Erasmith as well. Um, we are a great place to work certified organization and ranked one of the top startups to work for in India by Great Place to Work Institute. We offer world-class customized solutions in IT consultancy and a range of services, which includes new age SaaS and cloud, cybersecurity, DevOps, custom application development. We would like to turn opportunities into value and provide end-to-end IT services and solutions. This slide gives a peek into where Erasmith can help you and your organization in your digital transformation journey. Of course, Puneet spoke about cloud and cloud transformation. But there are a lot of other areas where, as an organization, we can help you. With that, I would like to thank Puneet for such a wonderful and informative session today, and all the participants as well for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on the webinar or for the presentation or for any of our services. We would be glad to answer them for you and help you with whatever we can. And if there are any questions for on the webinar or for the presenter, we can post those answers on our website blog section, so you can refer and see them. Do like us and follow us on our social media channels to stay connected. Um, on behalf of Erasmith, let me once again thank Puneet and everyone else for joining us today. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of the day and a great weekend ahead. And enjoy your family time or whatever monkeying business you are going to do. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.